My parents let my ex move into my childhood home with my sister while I was homeless. Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. I grew up in a regular middle-class suburb, the kind of place where everyone pretended to be nicer than they really were. My parents were never the worst, but they weren't exactly warm either. You did what you were told, kept your head down, and if you had a problem, you were expected to fix it on your own. That was just how things were in our house. I'm the oldest by 5 years. My sister, Lily, was the golden child. She was the one with the big personality, the emotional outbursts, the charm when she wanted something. I was the quiet one, the rock, as my mother used to say when she needed something done without complaint. When I turned 18, I moved out, got a small place near my community college, and started working nights while taking classes part-time. I didn't want to rely on anyone. That's how I was raised, right? When I was 19, I met Emily. She was a year older than me, sarcastic, sharp, quick to laugh. She'd grown up a few towns over, but had that same don't need anyone attitude I thought I understood. We met at a bookstore I worked at on weekends. She came in looking for some obscure poetry collection, and we ended up talking for almost an hour. After that, it just kind of happened. We clicked. At first, it was amazing. Emily and I had both grown up in families where emotions were weapons, not tools. So when we found each other, it felt safe. She didn't judge me for being quiet, and I didn't mind her sharp edges. She moved into my apartment about a year later, when she lost her job and couldn't afford rent. I didn't hesitate. I picked up extra shifts and told her we'd figure it out. There were a few rough months, but we made it work. She got a new job eventually, entry-level marketing, something corporate. Our schedules were opposite, but we found time. When my parents hosted holidays, she always came. Lily loved her. My mom loved her even more. Looking back now, I realize how dangerous that was. Emily had a way of drawing people in. She was funny and knew how to make people feel special. She'd laugh at my dad's bad jokes, help my mom clean up after dinner without being asked, and let Lily borrow her clothes or get advice about school. There were times I'd come home from work and find her on the phone with my sister or out to lunch with my mom. I thought it was sweet that they got along. What I didn't realize then was that she was already more part of my family than I was. My parents weren't overtly cruel to me, but I always felt like I was a guest in their house, even when I lived there. They rarely asked how I was doing. If I achieved something, it was expected. If Lily got a passing grade on a math quiz, they threw her a party. I was used to that imbalance, and it didn't bother me as much as it should have. But with Emily, I guess I expected something different. I thought she saw what I saw, that she knew how uneven things were, that she was with me, not them. That belief would come crashing down hard. About 6 months before everything exploded, things between Emily and I started to shift. Nothing huge at first. Little things. She stopped waiting for me to eat dinner. Started taking more calls in private. I chalked it up to stress. Her job was intense, her boss a nightmare, and I thought maybe I'd been neglecting her. I asked if everything was okay. She'd just say, "I'm tired, that's all." I believed her. Then one night, I came home from a shift and she wasn't there. Her phone was off. No note, no text. Hours later, she came in through the front door like nothing happened. Said she'd gone out with Lily. I didn't even question it. I was relieved. I was stupid. When I think about it now, that night was probably the beginning of the end. But I ignored my instincts. Because that's what I always did. I gave people the benefit of the doubt. I kept the peace. I didn't fight. And maybe that's why it was so easy for them to walk over me when the time came. We hit our 4-year anniversary in January. I got her a necklace and a card. She gave me a forced smile and said we should talk. I knew before she opened her mouth. She said she felt trapped, that she needed space, that she loved me, but not in that way anymore. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just sat there as the walls came down. A week later, she was posting photos with someone new. I didn't recognize the background in the picture, but I recognized the person. It was my sister, and they were holding hands. I stared at the photo on my phone for a long time before I could even process it. It was on Lily's Instagram story. Just 15 seconds, blurry, casual, one of those little flashes people don't think about twice. But I knew exactly what I was looking at. The two of them sitting on a blanket in the park, a bottle of wine, laughter in the background, and their fingers interlaced like it was the most natural thing in the world. I waited. I gave it a day, then another. I kept telling myself there was some explanation, that maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But it was. On the third day, I called Lily. She answered on speakerphone, giggling, her voice syrupy sweet. I could hear Emily in the background. "Hey, big bro," Lily said, like everything was fine. I didn't even try to hide the shake in my voice. "What the hell is going on?" The laughter stopped. "You know what I'm talking about," I said. She sighed dramatically. "Look, I was going to talk to you about it, okay? But it just happened. You're dating my ex, who lived with me for years." "It's not like that," she snapped. "We connected. After the breakup, she was a mess, and I was there. Things just clicked." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "She's my ex," I said slowly, trying to stay calm. "She moved out a week ago. And now you're what, posting couple selfies like it's cute. It's not my fault you couldn't keep her happy." That one hit like a punch to the chest. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. I didn't call Emily. There was nothing left to say to her. The next day, I drove to my parents' house. I hadn't been there in months, but I needed to look them in the eyes. I needed them to say something, anything, to show they understood how messed up this was. My mom opened the door like nothing had happened. She even smiled. "Hey, sweetheart. You should have called." I stepped inside and saw Lily and Emily on the couch, curled up under a blanket, watching a movie. Emily looked up at me and froze. Lily turned her head and smirked. My dad was in the kitchen, flipping through the mail. I stood there in the doorway, feeling like I was in a dream I couldn't wake up from. "You're just letting this happen?" I said, my voice cracking. My mom gave me that tight-lipped, rehearsed smile she always used when things got uncomfortable. "They're adults. We can't control who they date." "She lived with me for 4 years," I said. "She was part of this family because of me." Lily knew that. "You and Emily broke up," my dad said without looking at me. "It's not like she cheated." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. Instead, I just stood there, feeling the heat rise behind my eyes. "She was your guest," I said, turning to my mom. "She sat at this table every holiday. You called her family. And now you're acting like none of that mattered." "She is family," my mom said, glancing at the couch. That was the moment I realized. They had chosen her. Chosen them. Over me. "I can't believe this," I said quietly. "You're siding with them." "No one's taking sides," my dad muttered. "The hell you're not," I said. Emily didn't say a word. She just stared at the TV, pretending I wasn't even there. Lily stood up, arms crossed. "You're making this a bigger deal than it is. Maybe if you weren't so emotionally constipated, she wouldn't have left you." I didn't even respond. I just walked out. My ears were ringing. My heart was hammering. I didn't go home. I just drove around for hours, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me together. That night, I got a message from my landlord. Rent was due, and I didn't have it. I'd lost my job a week earlier in a round of layoffs. It had been a stressful few months, and I hadn't told anyone. I was trying to find something new, temp work, anything. But nothing had come through. I scraped together what I could, sold my gaming console, a few other things, but it wasn't enough. 2 weeks later, I got a final notice. I had to be out by Friday. So I packed up what I could fit in my car. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, a box of photos I couldn't bring myself to throw away. And I drove to my parents' house. When my mom opened the door, I told her I needed to stay for a while. Just a week or two. Long enough to find something, get back on my feet. She didn't even hesitate. "I don't think that's a good idea," she said. "It would be awkward." I stared at her. "Awkward?" I repeated. "With Emily here," she said. That was the first time she actually acknowledged what she'd done. What they'd all done. "She's living here?" I asked, even though I already knew. "We had the space," she said with a shrug. "And Lily wanted her close." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was this bitter, dry sound I didn't recognize coming out of my own mouth. "You're letting my ex sleep in my old room with my sister," I said, "and you won't let me crash on the couch?" "It's not about sides," she said again. I turned around and walked to my car. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have anyone else to call. I slept in a Walmart parking lot that night. The engine off to save gas. My hoodie pulled tight over my head. The back seat barely fit me, but I curled up and closed my eyes. It was the first of many nights like that. No one called to check on me. Not my mom. Not my dad. Not Lily. They were all too busy posting family dinners and group selfies, acting like I didn't exist. Emily was in every picture, smiling like nothing had ever happened. People like to believe that hitting rock bottom is loud, that there's some big dramatic breakdown, some cinematic moment where you scream into the void or cry in the rain. But for me, it was quiet. It was the steady, soul-crushing silence of waking up in the back seat of my car with my neck twisted and my feet numb from the cold. It was eating fast food dollar menus in the dark and brushing my teeth in gas station bathrooms. It was watching the sun rise through a cracked windshield and wondering if anyone would notice if I just disappeared. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that I'd find something, that I just needed time. But weeks passed. Job interviews went nowhere. I cleaned myself up as best I could, using a 24-hour gym membership just to shower, but employers could smell desperation. They always can. The worst part wasn't the hunger or the cold. It wasn't even the humiliation of hiding my situation from the few friends I had left. The worst part was the loneliness. The sheer, choking emptiness of realizing no one was coming to help. That the people who were supposed to care had already replaced me. Every now and then, I'd check Lily's Instagram. I told myself I wasn't going to, but I always did. I watched them go on hikes, take smiling selfies in my old room, post jokes that Emily and I used to share. Once, they went to a restaurant I had taken Emily to on our second anniversary. She even ordered the same dish. Captioned the photo, "She gets me." It felt deliberate. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I was just projecting. But it broke something in me. One night, after another rejection email and a dinner that consisted of vending machine peanuts and a lukewarm bottle of water, I just sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel for hours. My hands were shaking. I kept thinking about how easy it would be to just let go, to stop trying. That scared me more than anything. I don't know what pulled me out of it. Maybe it was spite. Maybe it was the image of Emily and Lily laughing in my parents' house while I slept on leather seats. Maybe it was something deeper. But the next morning, I woke up and drove to the city 2 hours away. I walked into every store, restaurant, gas station, anything with a help wanted sign. I got turned down again and again. But then, by some miracle, a small moving company gave me a shot. The boss was a guy in his 40s named Derek. Big guy, rough voice, but kind eyes. He didn't ask questions. Just told me to show up on time, lift with my knees, and not steal anything. I worked like a dog. Double shifts. Rain or heat. Didn't matter. I saved every dollar. Slept in my car for 2 more weeks before I could afford a room at a rundown motel on the edge of town. It smelled like bleach and mold, but it had a bed and a door that locked. I cried the first night I slept there. Not out of sadness, just relief. Eventually, I found a cheap studio apartment. No windows, barely any space, but it was mine. I put a futon on the floor, bought a second-hand coffee maker, and tacked a bedsheet over the wall to hide the peeling paint. It wasn't much, but it was more than I'd had in months. Around this time, Derek started giving me more responsibility. Said I was dependable. Clients liked me. I got promoted to dispatcher. Started wearing a polo instead of a reflective vest. Got a little raise. A little dignity. I still thought about them sometimes. Lily, Emily, my parents. But the thoughts came quieter now. They didn't consume me like they used to. One afternoon, after work, I was grabbing coffee at a small cafe near my apartment when I bumped into someone. Literally. Spilled her drink and everything. Her name was Nina. She laughed when it happened, said it was her fault, that she was terrible at watching where she walked. We started talking. I offered to buy her another drink. She said yes. Nina was different. She asked questions and actually listened to the answers. She didn't interrupt or try to spin the conversation back to herself. She wasn't flashy or dramatic. Just real, steady, warm. We started dating. Slowly. I told her bits and pieces about my past, but not everything. Not yet. I wasn't ready. She never pushed. She just made space for me. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Months passed. I saved more. Got better furniture. Bought a rail bed. Got therapy. Worked on forgiving myself for being so blind, so trusting, so easy to discard. One night, Nina and I were watching a movie when my phone buzzed. It was my mom. I stared at the screen for a long time. I hadn't heard from her in over a year. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Then texted. "Please call me. It's about your sister." For the first time in a long while, I felt nothing. No panic. No dread. Just a quiet curiosity. I waited until the next morning. Then I called. She answered on the first ring. Thank God, she said. We've been trying to reach you. I didn't respond. It's Lily, she said. She and Emily broke up. Of course they did. She's not doing well. She dropped out of school. She's been struggling. Still, I said nothing. My mom sighed. Your father and I, things haven't been easy. With the house. And the bills. We could really use your help. There it was. They didn't want me back. They wanted a lifeline. They wanted a son they had already replaced, forgotten, discarded, until it was convenient to remember him. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. My voice was calm, steady, but I'm not your problem anymore. Don't be like this, she snapped, suddenly bitter. We're still your family. No, I said. You stopped being my family the day you gave my bed to my ex and told me to sleep in the street. She tried to talk, but I hung up. Then I blocked her number. I stared at my reflection in the blank phone screen and realized something that startled me. I was okay. I had survived them. A few weeks after I hung up on my mother, the messages started coming in through every other possible channel. Facebook, email, even a letter, handwritten in my dad's stiff, all-caps style. At first, I ignored them. I was done. I had made peace with my absence from their lives, and I had no interest in reopening old wounds. But then Lily messaged me. I'm sorry. Can we talk? It was short, uncharacteristically humble. I stared at the message for a while. My instinct was to delete it, to block her, just like I had our parents. But part of me wanted to hear what she had to say, not because I wanted reconciliation. I didn't. I wasn't looking for forgiveness. I had moved past that. But I wanted to look her in the eyes and know, really know, that she saw what she did, that she felt it. So I agreed to meet. We chose a neutral location, a coffee shop halfway between our cities. Public, bright, familiar. I brought Nina with me. She sat a few tables away, sipping tea and reading a book, just in case I needed her. Lily walked in late. Her once perfect hair was tangled, dark circles under her eyes. She looked like someone who had finally run out of people to lean on. Hey, she said, sitting across from me. Her voice was quiet. I didn't respond. I waited. She hesitated. I know I don't deserve to ask for anything, and I'm not expecting you to forgive me. I need you to hear me. I raised an eyebrow. Now you care about being heard? She flinched. Yeah, I deserve that. She started talking about how things fell apart with Emily, how Emily had always compared her to me, even when they were together, how Emily would slip up and say things like, he used to do this, or that's how he made coffee. How, over time, Lily realized Emily hadn't wanted her. She had wanted a version of me that didn't argue back. She never really loved me, Lily admitted, tears welling. She loved winning. I sipped my coffee and let her talk. I was jealous, she continued, of you, of how easy you made everything look. You were the golden boy. I wanted to be chosen for once. That made me laugh. Bitterly. You think I was the golden child? I asked. I slept in my car while Mom played hostess to my ex-girlfriend. I begged for a place to stay, and they said it would be awkward. I lost everything, and no one even asked if I was alive. I know, she said softly. I didn't see it until it was too late. I leaned forward. Do you know what it's like to sit in a freezing car, watching people walk into warm homes, knowing your family chose your ex over you? Do you know what that does to someone? She nodded, eyes full of shame. Yes. Now I do. I sat back. Let the silence stretch. I don't want money, she said quickly. Or anything. I need to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what we did to you. For a moment, I saw her as the scared little sister she used to be. The one who used to knock on my door during thunderstorms and ask to sleep on the floor next to my bed. The one who used to call me her hero. But that girl was gone. I appreciate the apology, I said. I do. But I don't trust you. And I don't want you in my life. Her face crumpled. But I didn't flinch. I built something out of the ruins you all left behind. I crawled out of a hole no one thought to check. And I did it alone. That matters to me. She nodded slowly. I understand. I stood up. Nina caught my eye and closed her book. As I turned to leave, Lily spoke one last time. I wish I could go back. I stopped, looked over my shoulder. I don't, I said. Because if I did, I'd still believe that people like you were worth saving. She didn't follow me out. Back in the car, Nina took my hand. You okay? She asked. I looked at her. At the woman who had seen me at my worst and never flinched. Who had loved me not in spite of the cracks, but because of them. I am now, I said. That night, I sat on the couch in our apartment, our home, and opened my laptop. I had been writing for a while. Journaling, mostly. But something inside me had shifted. I had a story. Not just pain. A story. I started typing. Not for revenge. Not for pity. But for truth. Because sometimes, the best way to get justice isn't screaming into the void. It's living so well that the people who buried you choke on their silence. And that's exactly what I did. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button.